Hello, my name is Marnie Hoolahan, member of the Planning Board. I'm here to share an overview on the MBTA Communities Act. It's a warrant article, actually number 8 out of 18, at special town meeting on Monday, September 30th at 7 p.m. It is an important vote for our town. We urge you to get out and vote. We also urge you to pay attention to this broadcast and this overview. I will also be presenting this on the town floor the evening of special town meeting for anyone who has not had the preview. The intent of this presentation is to review 4 key components. What is the MBTA Act and how does it impact Southborough? How are the zoning districts selected? What are the zoning districts that will be before the town citizens to vote on? And what happens next? The MBTA Communities Act. It was an act signed into law in January 2021 under the Baker administration with broad bipartisan support. It's a state zoning law, and I emphasize zoning, enacted to improve the housing inventory available. The law only requires the town to adopt zoning that allows multifamily development as of right. 177 cities and towns are impacted by this law in the state of Massachusetts, and Southborough is required to have the zoning in place by the end of the year, December 31st, 2024. So the key components of the MBTA law are 5. There's 50 total acres, 10 acres within the half mile of the MBTA station. It must be within walking distance to public transportation, bikeways, and bus stops. Must be suitable for families with children, and no bedroom or age restrictions can be put upon that. Zoning must allow a minimum gross density of 15 units per acre, and zoning permit process cannot be discretionary. It's important that this applies to multifamily, meaning that buildings designed for 3 or more dwellings. So let's talk a little bit about what it means to Southborough. So the 50 acres, 10 acres must be within a half mile of the MBTA station because that's the requirement. 25 acres, 50% must be contiguous, and 15 acres can be 5-acre districts, 3 5-acre districts, or they can be 15 acres or 2 5 acres and another 5. I would like to draw your attention that we as a town and many other towns went back to fight the state because originally all 50 acres was required to be within the half-mile radius. So I want to reinforce only 10, 1/5 of what was originally requested. In that zoning of 50 acres, 750 units would be the minimum total unit capacity, and that equates back to the 15 units per acre requirement. What's very important is that Southborough and the Planning Board and the Zoning Board maintain site plan control. Major site plan review application would be required. A public hearing with a butter notice would be required. Heights, setbacks, parking, lighting, and lower impact development would all need to comply with the underlying zoning being proposed by Planning Board. Only 10% of the units would be considered affordable, and those would be required to be inclusionary dwellings and counted in our Southborough housing inventory. 90% of the units would be at market rate. Importantly, this law for the MBTA Communities Act is not an affordable housing law. The Planning Board of Southborough has maintained a 10% rate, and we would love to increase that to be higher. But at this point, the law did not include a requirement, and we're asking for that 10% units be affordable. So what does dense housing, what can it look like? In these 3 pictures, you see designations of what it could look like. This is a kind of a 2-story townhome with 3 units on it, and that's 1/4 acre. And here, this is 1 acre with 15 units within the acre. So each of these is about 2 stories. In a real life example, I know it's probably very difficult to see this. I'll blow it up a little bit and move my slide. These are designees within Sudbury, and that's a density of 15 units per acre. Let me just scroll that back again so we can get back. So at the parcel level, the look of 15 units per acre will vary based on the parcel size. It could mean a 3-unit townhouse on a 10,000 square foot or approximately a quarter acre of a parcel. Most importantly, our underlying zoning for all 3 designated areas allows for no taller than 3 stories or 45 feet. Underlying zoning prevails for the proposed development. So any development proposed are required to meet Southborough's zoning code. That gives us the local control to manage anything on this zoning bylaw that is proposed to be developed. At this time, we don't have anything in front of us being requested for MBTA development. In our 3 districts that are chosen, and we'll walk through what those are, these are the requirements within each around minimum lot area, frontage, setbacks, maximum height, maximum floor area ratio, and maximum dwelling units per acre. Again, I want to stress that this is zoning and we will maintain local controls. So this is not development, this is zoning. So how does the MBTA benefit Southborough? So we believe it's a modest step to provide zoning to provide more diverse housing. More diverse housing is included as a goal in our 2021 master plan. It's a #1 priority in our housing production plan. 90% of our housing inventory currently is single-family homes. We have the potential to provide housing opportunities for younger and older generations seeking to enter or stay in Southborough. And it provides for at least 10% of potential developed units to contribute to our Southborough affordable housing inventory. The districts proposed ensure gradual impact over time, and we'll get more into that. And it contributes to our community responsibility towards easing the housing crisis that the state and our entire country face. So the consequences for not passing the MBTA law are significant. And the 3 that we'll highlight are the ineligibility for grants from MassWorks and Housing Works infrastructure programs, civil enforcement action by the Attorney General's office, and reduced consideration for the following 13 discretionary grant programs, and potentially others. I'm not going to read through them all, but they're significant and it matters. And if we deny this, we will have another chance to pass it, but we have to do that by December 31st. So we are seeking for the town floor to approve this. So has Southborough benefited from grants? Yes, and we expect to need more. We would like to submit for a one-stop grant for a Route 9 study and sewer evaluation. And MassWorks would be a required grant to support any Route 9 sewer infrastructure overhaul. And there could be potentially more. And as we all know, grants offset our tax overrides, really reducing the financial burden of our citizens. So next, let's get into how were the zoning districts selected. So over the last year and several months, the planning board has developed and deployed education and outreach since August 2023, and we've held over 45 meetings over the 14 months. This is an eye chart. I'm not going to read through it, but I think it's important to share that we've done our best to incorporate citizen feedback through mapping sessions where people came in person and literally mapped their proposed ideas. And we took those ideas and we had another chance to do that again, specific to District 1, which is the MBTA area. So at the end of the day, we've tried very hard to develop outreach, to build awareness and help educate the town on this MBTA Communities Act. So the planning board approach for the overlay bylaw was, as we talked about, run a very many over 45 meetings to help educate. But our objective is really to meet the zoning requirements while limiting impact to our existing residential neighborhoods. So we used state consultants and guidelines. We used the state compliance modeling tool. We asked Southborough residents for their input. We conducted local mapping sessions to identify 21 areas. We leveraged other towns' experiences and recommendations, and we developed a prioritization criteria rubric to compare and contrast districts identified from the resident mapping sessions. Important as you think about what are the mapping sessions, the state has produced guidelines to say what could be included and what could not be included, and those are listed on the right under state guidelines. Refining the 21 areas that were proposed by citizens were used in that scoring criteria I just mentioned. In front of you is the planning board criteria and scoring rubric. There are 8 requirements down the left-hand side here. I'm not going to read them all. We provided definitions and ranking. 5 was typically a yes, 1 was a no, and in other cases, we would rank the differences between a 5 and a 1, and they're all explicitly stated in the definition. And we would weight that criteria according to the area that we were evaluating. At the end of the day, the planning board identified through their rubric 6 prioritized areas that residents selected. The highlighted red areas were those that we looked at: MBTA section, St. Martin, and along Route 9. The planning board reviewed these areas and modeled several combinations using the state modeling compliance tool. Public hearings have been ongoing for input from the citizens, and the final 3 are presented in the bylaw tonight. So importantly, the modeled results on the 3 districts that we're asking for people to vote on meet the compliance requirements. And the 5 primary are that it is a minimum multifamily unit capacity. It meets the 750. We do. Minimum land area, it meets the 50 acres. We do. It's developable station area, meets the compliance requirements. We do. And our unit capacity within the MBTA station meets the requirement of at least 20% of all of your units, and we do. So where are the zoning districts? So the proposed MBTA overlay districts, the recommended proposal meets these compliance guidelines, as I mentioned. Area 1 is the MBTA station. Area 2 is Madison Place. And Area 3 is 34 St. Martin. So let's dig back a little bit. District 1. There are 2 distinct sections within the half-mile radius of the MBTA station. We have District 1A, which is the Blendon Woods Woodland Road area that includes several parcels. And we have District 1B, which includes 3 parcels along Southville Road. So let's first talk about the Blendon Woods Woodland area. So importantly, this district was a compromise. We knew that we couldn't put everything in one area along the route of Southville Road, and we knew we couldn't put it all within the areas of the residential. So we tried to make it a blend, and it was a compromise. And based on public hearing input, the majority of people have recommended and supported this decision. You will certainly hear dissenters from this opinion, but we believe this is the best compromise. The 6.1 acres in District 1A, the Woodland Blendon Woods, sits on 190 Woodland Road, 194 Woodland Road, and 10 Blendon Woods. Here's a little bit more detail about the content on this slide. The second district is 1B, Southville Road. And these are the 3 area parcels, 30 Southville Road and Southville Road. These district results, as laid out, you can see with the Google Map overlay. Final unit capacity in this particular area is about 80 units that could be built with the underlying zoning. But again, this is a zoning bylaw, and it would require local control. So planning board would need to review anything that goes in. If it doesn't meet the underlying setbacks, frontage, height requirements, we have the ability to say no. The second district is Madison Place, which aligns Route 9. It includes 300, 302, 304, and 334 Turnpike and 1200 Madison Place. This district would allow for about 454 units in this area. And the final district is St. Martin Drive. That's 14.6 acres located at 34 St. Martin Drive. And on the overlay map, this district would allow for 270 unit capacity and achieves our final total acreage of 50 acres. So what happens next? What happens if Southborough votes down? So importantly, compliance with this law is actually mandatory by December 31st. We need the town to vote yes. If you vote no, it will come with a cost and will require us to hold another special town meeting on 12/31/24. An MBTA community that fails to comply with this section shall not be eligible funds from granting authorities. And I just want to reinforce, we do need grants. We rely on grants. It offsets our tax base. The potential costs are that we lose access to certain state grants, and there is potential threat of legal action from the Attorney General. So approval for this law will require 50% of the town to vote yes. The Attorney General has reviewed our proposed bylaw, and we have incorporated those slight edits. The EOHLC, the state agency that's basically providing the guardrails for this, has collaborated closely with the planning board to ensure the district selected and bylaw meet the objective of the law. And finally, the select board and Shop C have both voted in their meetings to approve this law and vote yes. That's the end of this presentation. I would encourage you, as you watch this presentation, to spend time with the slides, spend time on the planning board website located on our Town of Southborough website to learn more. If you still have questions, we have a few days before our special town meeting on Monday, September 30th at 7 p.m. Don't hesitate to reach out to any member of the planning board, Karina Quinn, our town planner, or Carlene Stansfield, our manager. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at town meeting.